Hey everybody, welcome to It's Just Bodybuilding, episode 80. Dusty Hanshaw, myself, Big Ron Partlow. And we have a guest on today's show. We're going that route. We got Zane Watson, IFBB Pro. Can't wait to chat to him on It's Just Bodybuilding. Dusty, are you done eating chips?
You know, I'm not done, but I have to stop because people get so irritated, and they'll be really irritated if I eat chips. So I'm just going to drink some wine out of this cup here and pretend it's not wine, and we'll be good to go.
We should do just once. We should do a booze episode.
I don't disagree with that. I joined a wine club where they text me every day with a different bottle, and you just tell them how many you want, and they send them to your house. It's fucking amazing.
How much wine do you actually drink?
I don't drink nearly as much as I've been buying lately, to be honest with you. But I was like, oh, that sounds good. I'll take, it's the easiest way to waste my money. I'm like, oh, I'll take 3 of those. Fuck it. So I don't know. Someday it'll, and if I don't like one, I'm like, oh, I'll just give it to someone who's classier than me. They'll probably like it because I don't like the fancy shit.
It's nice to take a bottle of wine whenever you go to someone's house. So you're always, I know how terribly social you are and how often you go to other people's houses.
Both times per decade that I go to someone's house,
you will have wine on hand
I'll bring 5. I'm like, I don't know what to do with this shit.
Yeah. Okay. I think we had a bottle of wine that we opened for some reason, and then the other half of it sat until it went bad. We had to throw it out. So that's alcohol in our house.
See? Yeah. I got a little thing, actually, that goes on the top. It keeps it good for up to 3 months, but
right.
It never lasts that long. Anyways, no. I digress. Let's get back to bodybuilding before I get in trouble.
So remember, like, share, subscribe, comment, ring the bell, graphic, all that stuff. Help us out with that stuff. We love you. We appreciate it. Everything's been going great. We just, we're so happy. We even have listeners, Dusty.
I know. It's shocking. And at 80 episodes, we still have somebody that wants to come on.
I have to compliment you. I like your attire. You have a JP shirt, very slick.
Thank you. It's lilac. It's a new color for me. Yeah,
I like it. And you got the West Coast Iron hat.
So I got the original.
Yeah, you got the yeah. And I'm gonna have a new hat for you soon. So
nice. I have 4.
Hang tight. I know you're doing okay. Yeah, you have enough West Coast Iron hats that you probably still have a clean one that's for dress up.
That's the gray one.
There we go. See? I knew it.
See, you knew. Everyone's got that one. I'm like, I'm going to a wedding. I better put on the gray one. Let's go.
Yeah. I don't train in the gray one. I think I've only trained in it a couple times,
Yeah. The black one with the stitching that's lifted, that's for funerals. Anyways.
Oh, okay.
Black.
Okay. Okay. Yes. Let's bring on Zane. Let's bring Zane Watson, IFBB Pro, Olympia competitor, Arnold competitor, Canadian champion.
Shredded as fuck. Okay, let's do it. I added that part.
That handsome mug. Bam! Zane Watson.
Hey, can you see me?
Just bodybuilding. Oh yeah, you're good to go, man. I love your black background with the bright hoodie.
You can see me, eh?
You look like $1 million.
Nice.
Good to have you on the show, man. Everything's good?
Yeah, not too bad. Pretty good. Do you guys have a holiday?
Yes, family day out here. What is it for Dusty? Isn't it President's Day or something?
Yeah, we used to have one of those, but anyways, now it's just an extra day.
So yeah, everyone's got a holiday today. What's going on out there, man? You're in Ontario, obviously. Tell everybody where you're at and your situation at the moment.
Yeah, I'm just outside of Toronto. We just came off a lockdown. I think it's tomorrow. We come out of the lockdown. It's going to go back to like a red zone or what they call it, which means the gyms will open. My gym here will open. I think you can have like 10 people or something. I'm not sure. It's all bullshit.
Right. So Dusty and I have brought you up a few times this year, and we've talked about how, some bodybuilders this year just hunkered down and just said, fuck it. And just trained through the whole thing, but didn't compete or didn't try to travel or didn't do any of that stuff. And that seems to be the strategy you took, which obviously living on Ontario, I can't blame you. Is that kind of or are we right, or did it just kind of happen this way? Was there no plan or decision to kind of just train through it and not compete?
So in 2019, I actually planned to take 2020 off. But then, when you do that, you kind of get that itch to compete near the end, especially when you're doing really good, your training's going well. And then this shit happened, and I compete for hobby and for, because I get to travel with my family and my friends to do it. And it's something I'm good at and I enjoy doing. So without that aspect of bodybuilding, it's not the same for me.
Ah, right. Okay. Well, nothing was the same this year. You're right. So, what would make sense? I can't
travel with anybody. If I had to go into the States, there was crazy conditions. I seen guys struggling through it, getting show after show canceled. And, I trained so damn hard for my coming up for a show that I couldn't do that to myself and be disappointed with the show being canceled, or I don't know. These guys work through it. Good for them, but fuck, it drive me crazy if that happened.
You mentioned the supporters and stuff, and one thing that I'm not sure the American fans understand, unless they've heard the stories, but as a fellow Canadian who competed with you for several years at nationals, we were both, part of that national alumni, those guys beating our heads against the wall. And you always had this absolutely mind-blowing group of people that would show up at the show, hands down the loudest fans for any bodybuilder I've ever seen compete in Canada, and the most consistent group. Like, you had this group of crazy people with Team Watson shirts, and they're getting Zaniacs, and they've got rows together. They're not spread out. They're all sitting together, and they just take over the auditorium when you come on the stage. And it was like that all through the amateurs, and obviously at the Toronto Pro and stuff when you're competing now. But tell me about that. I want to know how that sort of happened, because it was awesome. I loved your support group.
That's something I always like to put together. I would always put together, like even the Arnold Classic, the one year I set up a bus for my family and friends to get on and go over there, and I got all the seating together, like you said. So usually would be one group and get all the clothing together, and it just turns everything into, what bodybuilding was to me. I always did this with my father and my family. So, we always traveled together all as a group. And it was just, for that one time, honestly, even including Christmas, everything, it was that one time where really my whole family and all my friends would be together. So it made for a really good trip and memories. So that was really awesome. This year you couldn't do that. So I'm not sure.
Do you feel like that was something that you used to drive yourself? Like, you knew they were all coming, you knew they were just as committed?
Yeah, I couldn't let nobody down. I had to be perfect.
Just pile on the pressure.
Oh yeah, everything.
Okay. See, Dusty, now we're learning about Zane.
Yes, right? I like that style though. Like, most people shy away from it. He's like, how can I put a little more pressure on myself?
I'm going to put everyone on a bus and make them go to the show, and I'm going to have to look nuts.
Make them buy tickets. Yeah. It's not cheap for people to go to these shows, like hotel, travel, the price of the tickets, it ends up being $1,000 weekend, or at least, not including hotels. Then we go to so many times I've brought everybody to Vegas. I brought everyone to Vegas 2 or 3 times. So that's like a whole thing on its own,
Man, oh man. So
I've even had Flex Lewis. Like, I knew when I was with him first contest in Vegas, he's like, who the fuck is this guy that they're cheering for? Who's this guy in the last call out that everybody's cheering for? It was good.
No, man, it was awesome, and every year at the Canadas, guaranteed. And one other thing about those Canadas that I remember is not only would you'd have your Zaniacs there, but you would every year come out and lay down a professional posing routine, and it would be worthy of the noise. And that was, you know what I mean? It's like if someone buses in 100 friends, but then they come out and they don't really do much.
They're dead.
Yeah, but you would bust these people in, and then you would dominate the posing round.
You shitty firecracker.
Yeah, shitty fire. Yeah.
Pretty weak, Conehead.
Exactly. That's such a great explanation of what it looks like too. If someone's just terrible, you're like, wow.
Cool.
Yeah. So that was obviously part of the pressure too, was you wanted to outpose everybody and treat that like an art.
Yeah, well, even in the groups of people I bring, it's, these aren't bodybuilding enthusiasts that I'm bringing. These are like family members and other friends outside of bodybuilding. So like on every trip, there's a handful of people that have never seen a bodybuilding show or never watched anything outside of my social media that had anything to do with bodybuilding. So it's these people that, they get that routine and they understand the whole thing. It all comes together and it's like, wow, that was the best weekend ever. I watched you in your underwear and I'm cheering you on, flexing your muscles, and like they think it would be like funny, but they thought it was cool at the end of it. So, that group is really important for me. I can't even say how important it was and is.
What's the do you have somewhat of a game plan for this year, or is it really depending on the next couple of months of what's going on in Canada and all that stuff?
Yeah, I'm just super cautious. I definitely am eager to get on the stage. Super cautious as to what show I pick. I've had it in my head that I want to do the Arnolds again. Obviously, I don't think they're going to put a 212 back in Arnold. I don't really care, but it would be. I'm not sure if they would accept an invite from me in the open class, but I wouldn't care. I would do it open or whatever. I would just I would like to do that show again. I think that to date, that was my favorite. That's my favorite show I've ever competed in. It was a 2017 Arnold Classic.
What made that special, says someone who's never done it? I mean, I've been there a million times, but what was the difference? I mean, you've done the Olympia, so.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. That was incredible.
Yeah, that was awesome. So that whole experience, bringing everybody and meeting Arnold, and the show was just so put together perfectly. Like it was, you go to some shows and it's like, oh, wow, well, you've worked so hard to become a professional athlete. And then it's like, the show's not running as smooth as you think it would run. Mm-hmm. But then there's some shows that are just like over the top, and Arnold Classic was that for me. Like it was just, everything was put together. You had time to be somewhere, somebody helping you when you got there. Everything was organized. The rooms, the escorts, not whores, like escorts.
Glad you specified. I was like,
yeah, you have to do
I was
overseas
setting
shows.
in my. Why is Dusty trying to get in the Arnold all of a sudden? Well, Zane said.
Yeah. I'm here for the horse.
Yeah. We're going to do all the Eastern European shit.
Escorts.
That's classic.
Oh man,
that's good stuff.
There we go. We got the clip for the thumbnail, Dusty.
Yeah, we just got it. It's all done.
Got it out of the way. We got the promo clip. So that'll be perfect.
Fucker.
We're running the whore response straight out the gate. This is how we roll, Zane.
Let's talk about before you got your pro card. Let's talk about the amateur days coming up. I wanted to ask you a couple of questions. Obviously, your dad is a foundational part of your story that, I mean, everyone in Canada is aware of, and obviously a lot of your fans know. But can you give us a little bit of background for those who don't quite know what your household was like with your parents and bodybuilding and all that stuff?
Yeah, sure. I grew up in the fitness industry. My dad always had a chain of health clubs. It was called Family Fitness, and he was a professional bodybuilder. I guess it was different back then. it wasn't like I don't think he had like an IFBB pro status. It was more like he did nationals and then universe. I'm not sure if at that point it was like considered IFBB pro or.
Right. It was the 70s, right? Yeah.
Between the 70s and probably really early 80s, but more late 70s and early 70s. And he won the nationals there a few times and then went on to the universe. And my mom too, she was a national champion in bodybuilding.
Mm-hmm.
It was a lot different. Not sure what the female classes were like then. If it was, I think it was just bodybuilding but they weren't like super muscular. It was kind of a cool look.
Rachel McClish days.
Yeah. So I naturally grew up in the fitness lifestyle, and my dad's goal was always, I'm going to do what I did in 10 years with you in 2. And we basically did that.
Yeah.
I think I won my pro card in 3 years, maybe something like that.
What was your first nationals? You did 2011, 12, and 13, right?
That sounds right. Because 2010 I did level 1. It was level 1, level 2, and then it was nationals. Is that how it went?
Yeah.
Regionals, provincials, nationals.
I remember, I would always hear mumblings of the new guys that were coming that were pro potential, because I was like there for so many years trying to turn pro. So I would hear like, oh, this new kid, this guy's coming. And I remember the first time I heard your name, it was like, oh, this Zane Watson kid's going to be awesome. And I remember like looking forward to seeing you at nationals that year. And the potential. Oh, you do? Oh, okay.
Because it was the same, awesome. But the other way around. It's like, fuck, this guy's here. He wins it all the time, and he didn't get his pro card. And then I see you, and I'm like, who the hell's supposed to compete with this guy? Massive. He's got these fucking gray sweatpants on. They're like tights, but they were huge pants. I think it was you were weighing in or something.
Right.
Like, oh, crap, this is real. I think it might have been the first nationals in was that Edmonton or Halifax?
Yeah, man. It was those were good days, man. But I remember when you got your pro card and it was like, oh shit, because the 212 division was the talk at the time, and so it was, everyone knew that you were one of the guys from Canada that had a place to like go straight to.
Yeah, that 212 class.
Yeah. So what about you mentioned doing the open at the Arnold if they would let you, so where do you sit with 212? Like, looking back at the last year you did all those shows, I mean, how hard was that for you to be in that class?
So it's always kind of the same. It's like in previous years, I start my contest prep around 225. And I end my contest prep around 225, but 0 fat and more muscle.
Right.
So then I got to suck myself off 12 pounds to step on stage. And, I never get my best look. In 2019, I did 4 shows. And actually, coming up to the show, I was hovering around 216. And that's a really easy weight for me to dial in from. So it ended up good. And then, I did 4 shows that year. So the first show, 216, second show, 219, next show, 220, next show, 223. You're like, fuck, I can't get down there. It's hard. Because, when I'm training, it's probably I get my best. When I'm training for a show, it's like, it's my best time of growing. I don't really have an off season. I'm either training for a show or I'm just training in the gym, not. It's probably a downfall of mine, but if I pushed it all year, I would definitely not make the 212 class. But now I don't really care.
Right.
I don't care if I come in at 212, especially for my last few years of bodybuilding. I want to look my best on stage, and I don't care what class that lands me in, but I don't want to be I don't want to sacrifice how I look because, you know, realistically, I've never been perfect. And that's just because I have to come down so much in that 24-hour window from weighing in to being on stage. When I put 10 or 12 pounds back on, you know, it doesn't necessarily go where you want it to.
Right.
Because when you pull it out, it usually comes out of my muscles. Like if I could step on stage how I look 2 weeks before a show, training in the gym every morning, then, you know, I'd do a hell of a lot better. But because of that weight restriction, it's hard for me.
Do you feel like without the weight restriction, your physique could carry even more mass, or would you come in roughly where you are at that 225 mark without sacrificing your look? Because you know how it is, like a lot of open guys, I find they look back and they go, yeah, I'm 270 now, but at 255, I was nuts. You know, like their look sacrificed. You know what I mean? So how's that land for you?
Yeah, for sure. Like Ronnie Coleman looked amazing at 250 pounds.
Yeah.
Or 240. Looked amazing, sharp. For me, I'm not sure. I think if I'm really comfortable. I could be on stage very easily at 225, 230, and it would only better me. It wouldn't.
Right.
It wouldn't make my waist wider. It wouldn't affect me negatively. That's for sure. Yeah. Because that's where I comfortably sit, and then I have to pull it out because I walk around between 240 and 250.
And you're lean all year, really lean.
Yeah, I'm not. I don't get too out of shape, but I mean, I don't stay in crazy shape that I'm always. Usually, when I'm posting all my pictures, it's when I'm competing.
Right. You save them. You save them up.
No, I don't post them now. I just mean usually when I'm active on social media.
Right.
That's when people are seeing me. Where now I'm not competing. I'm not so active on my. On my socials, especially this year. It's a bummer. I don't even like posting me working out. I have my own gym, but it's like rubbing it in everybody's face. Nobody's got a fucking gym to train at. La-di-da. Here, follow my workouts.
Yeah. We've discussed, I had a bit of that too when we were shut down out here. It was like, I almost felt a little bad because I had this giant gym to train at every day. I was like, oh shit, I can't believe this. You know?
Rub it in.
Yeah, it's funny. Dusty and I put up a bunch of questions, and we both got hammered. So you're pretty popular, man. You had a lot of people ask stuff about Zane.
Yeah, people sent me about 30 questions by accident.
Oh, really? Yeah. So another thing is have you done very many interviews and podcasts and stuff? Because you kind of lay low a little too, don't you?
No, I don't do it. I don't do a ton. I mean, I'm up for them. If somebody asks me, I'll jump on to the interviews or whatever. I'm not shy. It's just bodybuilding is a hobby for me. So it's like, you know, I don't really have much to promote. I don't have much to promote, and other than, hey, what competitions you want to do? How's training going? It's great.
What do you do for your for your career then? If this is a hobby, I think it's an interesting thing because a lot of people, I get a lot of pushback from people that are like, well, it's so much easier when you don't have a real job. And I'm like, well, I used to own 5 retail stores and do this also, so I don't understand your excuse. It takes 6 minutes to eat 6 meals and an hour and a half to train. There's plenty of time. But I mean, so what do you do, and kind of what's your answer with that? Because I find that to be a pretty pathetic excuse from a lot of people, and obviously you're a top pro that's doing it as a hobby.
Yeah, for sure. Well, and that's a stand I've always taken with like supplement companies too. It's like, well, if you want me to put a lot of time into this, then, you know, my time is worth money. So in terms of my businesses, I've always had an entrepreneur mindset. I've always had 3 or 4 businesses going on. I do a lot of property development. I run a gym here. I do some a food business, food business out of there also, some online stuff. And then I have I'm always working on different.
Well, you got a hoodie there too.
Yeah, I have some retail. I sell some
There you
retail out of my gym.
Yeah. And on your website too.
Yeah, on my website. Sometimes people go on there and they'll order it. I don't push it a lot, but sweaters are great.
Yeah. What about helping other bodybuilders? You do coach some people too, right?
I take on a limited amount of clients. Like I'm really, and I'll drop them quick if they're not giving me what I want in terms of output, because if I'm going to take on a client, I'll be 100% with them, but they got to give me that back. And, a lot of people don't have that. So, you work with them a couple months and then you see like, it's not going how it's supposed to be going.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty honest with people.
Right.
In terms of getting rid of them. So, but then you get that, but then doing that, you get a few gems that really give it 100%, and they try really hard, whether they're awesome potential athletes or just like lifestyle guys.
Right.
It's the effort for me, because I love doing it. I love training people. I love torturing people in the gym.
Yeah.
I love posing with people. So that's all stuff I like to share, like my knowledge with, because it was shared with me. So
yeah, you feel like you enjoy doing what, say, your dad did for you.
It's definitely something I got from him. It's that father thing, the whole father thing that came with the sport for me. It's like I like to give that to other people, whether they're older than me or younger. I help guys that are 50. I help guys that are 20, and it's the same
Who
approach.
do you work with?
My coach,
Chris
Acetio.
Right.
I've worked with him now for probably 5 years.
Right.
Yeah, I knew I knew that you were with Chris, but obviously it's been a while since you're on stage, so I didn't know if you still considered him, like, if you'd go, back with Acetio for your next show, Yeah. Okay.
We've never had it. We're always on the same page, but we don't do any kind of off-season work, so it's like,
yeah.
As soon as I'm ready to pull the trigger, it's like, hey, I'm ready. Okay.
Oh,
Send me pics.
How do you describe? Dusty and I have this conversation all the time about Chris, how he's just different than most of the other trainers and coaches and gurus and stuff. How do you describe working with him to people? Because I'm sure people ask you, hey, what's Chris like?
He's super simple, meat and potatoes type of guy, and that's exactly how I was taught from the beginning. Is straightforward. So that's something that's really easy for him and I. But I've also I've never really worked with anybody else. I've done a little bit of an off season with Matt Jensen, and then all this bullshit happened, and it kind of didn't go anywhere. But it started off great, and he seemed like a super good coach as well. He's very detailed and on people, and Chris is the same with me. Like, Chris is anything, like, he's always there. When you message him, he answers you. When he says he's going to get you his diet, he gets you his diet. He's definitely always there. If you're competing, he's usually at the show.
Right. So, what do you think it is about what you do or how you prep that gives you the look that you have over other people? You're extremely hard and vascular. I mean, obviously genetic components notwithstanding. What do you think people need to do when they ask you, how can I look like you?
It's definitely my training. It's totally probably, I'd say, the intensity aspect of my training. And I'd say the veins are probably more genetic than anything, but I mean, that grainy look is definitely from high intensity training. which actually I've done a lot more of in the last year. I've had a new trainer, another 70s, 80s bodybuilder, John Cardillo. He was training me, and he owned a huge chain of fitness gyms here as well.
Yeah, he's got that giant Body Pro gym, doesn't he?
Yeah. That's here
nuts.
in Hamilton. Yeah, that thing has every single piece of equipment you could ever imagine.
Yeah.
But he really changed my look on training. I thought I was always, training with intensity, and then started doing these HIIT workouts, and it's made a huge difference, especially with rest periods. He really made me understand that less was more, and listen to your body. And when he got a hold of me, it was kind of in the middle of my 2019 bodybuilding season. So, when you're in that robot mode of training, got to train 6 times this week. I have to do cardio 5 times this week. I have to eat what I've been told to eat. So he got me in the middle. So for the concept is hard to change in the middle of it. But when I got into a little bit out of that contest prep mode and started to really listen to my body and let it recover from my hard workouts, taking 2 or 3 days off, and, not training biceps near my back, or training them together rather, and then not touching them for 5 days. I would notice that every single time I trained them, I'd be sore.
Right.
And legs too. Do your legs, don't touch them. I couldn't walk for a week, but I wouldn't touch them for 7-8 days.
Right.
And when I started to do that and listen to my body, it's changed a lot. So I'm excited to get back on stage this year, because I think I've changed quite a bit.
How were you able to, or what drove you to the idea that you wanted to try something new? Because I know a lot of guys, I always credit people who have already are somewhere and they're successful to make changes. Like I think back to when Tiger Woods was in his prime and he was winning, they're like, oh, we need to retool your entire swing. And it's like, you're fucking winning. Are you serious? But they know it's time. I mean, so how did you come to that decision? You guys just end up talking, or were you breaking down, or what was the deal?
Yeah, I think you come to a plateau, and your workouts are a bit the same. And then I went through a couple of these workouts, and I was like, fuck, I thought I trained hard, but it's like, oh, I can't walk. I can't move my arms. Like, what the fuck? I thought I was training hard. And then you realize there's a lot more left in you. So, you get a little taste of that, and a sicko like me, you fall in love with it, and then you can build on it.
I love that. This is the only game where you're like, yeah, so I couldn't move, and I thought I have to keep doing this.
I'm onto something. This is how I want to live my life. I tell people I had sore quads for 25 years.
Yeah.
Literally, I had sore quads 5 days a week for 25 years. I didn't even know how to live any other way. And now my legs aren't sore all the time. I'm like, wow, this is like a different life.
It's insanity.
Let's hit him with some questions, Dusty.
Yes.
He should be good.
Absolutely.
So
I have a ton. So
just to mention, two people didn't even ask questions, but they just said, tell him to keep posting training vids. We want more training vids. And then the other one's like, we love his training vids. Tell him to post more training vids.
I know.
So there you go.
That's what I said. I stopped doing them. Like, I don't know. It's like, should I feel bad for not doing them, or should I feel bad for doing them and rubbing it in people's faces?
Right.
I don't know.
It's like gym
I got a ton
right
of them.
now.
I haven't not been training. I have a ton of videos that I have collected. So
people need their action. Okay, here's a good one. What makes a great training partner?
A great training partner is, you see, I'm a little bit on the fence about this one, because
Give it to us.
especially with the training that I've adapted to now, the high intensity training. I don't think there's not time. There's not time for a training partner. There has to be either a trainer or like you have to be put through the workout, and then you catch your breath and you put them through the workout. Because in that high intensity aspect, there's not enough time to do set for set or thing. But when I do train someone with somebody and I'm not doing that crazy intense shit, then I would say they have to be knowledgeable of your training. You got to bounce off each other, feed off each other, and something you develop over time, how you want to be spotted, on point with time. Time's a big thing too. Like you guys got to have the same schedules, right?
Yeah.
Or at least work around each other, because if one person's like an hour late all the time or whatever, then it doesn't work out. And then weights too. You don't want to, if you're training with somebody, you don't want to be moving 100 pounds off the bar to let them do their set, or switch up the exercises. You kind of want to be in there somewhere.
Right.
But I look at a training partner as somebody helping me. Like I don't have like another top pro or anything that's here training with me. A lot of them train together at Pure Nutrition or Pure Muscle in Burlington. Yeah. So they're all training together. That's awesome, but I'm kind of in my own little element here, and sometimes I get to train with them, and then the workouts are great, but it doesn't usually happen as a partnership.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I trained with Regan a bunch of times this year, and those workouts go awesome, but
yeah, you're good buddies with him, right?
Yeah, we're all friends. All of
you.
We're all good friends here. Everybody talks to each other.
All you Ontario guys.
Yeah.
Hey.
I think it's funny being from the States, because Ontario and Western Canada are like different countries. Like you guys it's even ran different. Like you've been in your gym this whole time, Ron, and then all my clients on the east side of the country are screwed currently.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Like you guys don't have one president or something.
Prime Minister.
Prime Minister.
Yeah,
it's all different. He's probably in the Bahamas.
Probably. In front of a green screen, pretending he's in town.
Yeah. Hey.
So okay. I got a question, of course, on your on how you stay lean all the time. Do you run a really tight diet all the time, or how is it that you stay? Because the guy says even in the off season he looks peeled.
I don't stay peeled. I probably sit around between like 12 and 16% body fat.
Damn, everyone thinks you're lean all the time. You're so good at Instagram, Zane.
Yeah, no, I'm not totally shredded all the time, but I hold my fat well too. I'll hold my fat in my legs so you won't see it. So
right.
Maybe my arms are always vascular.
Yeah. Right. I'm one of those guys that always has ripped abs, even if my back and legs are completely smooth. So I can it used to be like 320 and I'd have like 6 abs and everyone would be like, oh my God. I'm like, no, I'm like 50 pounds overweight.
Yeah. Oh, you're shredded.
Yeah, no, I'm not. I'm far from shredded.
But I am definitely a creature of habit. I have my 3 or 4 clean meals that I definitely get in every day. My breakfast is always the same: eggs, oatmeal, maybe some toast or something. I'll always have a couple chicken and rice meals. I'll have a steak and salad meal. That's just how I like to eat. It's not.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. If I don't eat that way, it's like putting diesel in a petrol car. It's not. It doesn't work with me. I have to have the right fuel. So
I find it funny because a lot of guys think that your diets change a bunch, but I find that a lot of guys like you, the diet stays the same. It's just more food. Like your prep diet and your off-season diet's not drastically different other than you're eating more. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and that's a downfall for me too. Honestly, I eat 3 times as much food as in competition season than I do off season. Like literally, Chris is feeding me fucking 3 cups of rice and 10 ounces of chicken, stupid shit that makes your metabolism go crazy.
Yeah, you're having people hate you right now, just so you know.
Yeah, man, he feeds me. He feeds me like a 350-pound guy competing. It's crazy.
Yeah,
I eat a lot of food. By the time I'm done competing, I don't want to eat anything. I'm so sick of food. I can't even look at it.
What's the post-show cheat? I go home. Don't eat
Fuck, I go home. No, nothing. I want an apple.
I remember I did so many shows that I actually did a show. I think it was 2012. Did a show and went straight home and didn't eat and went to bed.
Fuck it.
I didn't eat anything. I took my trophy and I said goodbye to my friends, and I got home at like midnight because it was in Edmonton, so I just drove home, went in my own kitchen, pounded some water, fucking had a shower, went to bed. Like, it's funny. Yeah. You do enough shows, food just loses its value.
It's nothing. People always ask me that. What are you craving? Fuck. Air.
Air? Craving not eating.
Yeah. Hey, what's the biggest hardship you've had to overcome in your bodybuilding career? So not necessarily, personal life, but like the bodybuilding itself.
Oh, definitely my father passing away. So unexpected. It was like, we trained. He was my training partner, but he trained me. So he trained me every single day for, 8 years. So for that to be gone in a snap, it was like it was a big thing for me to get over. And that's why I did those in 2019, like leading up to that. I'm kind of a one-hit wonder. I do one show a year or at most, but in 2019, I just needed to stay focused and distracted. And I did those 4 shows and just kept going because that was really, my first year competing without my father's help. So even though Chris was helping me always, but still, it's you have somebody holding your hand the whole time. Like I was super blessed that way. Like I always had someone to be at the gym ready to work out when I was ready, So to not have that, it was definitely something to get over, and that's when my other trainer, John, he wanted to help me and work out with me a bit, and he was friends with my father, so he started showing me that other training, and you get over things. Obviously, life happens.
I think it's cool that because I got it funny, but I did not know your full story here. But a lot of fans were all asking me the same question, like about your father and stuff. So obviously you, in some levels, were relatively public about either him with you the whole time or what it was like when it was gone. But it's a lot of positive reaction to people talking about that within the questions. And one of them was it hard to go back to the gym and get back into that mode, or were you able to use the gym to distract? Actually in the gym, not the show?
I think I took a solid month off. No gym, nothing, just like in a fucking dark place. And then, obviously you got to pull up your skirt and get back to it. So that's what has to happen.
Yeah.
Got to get back to the gym. And when I got back to the gym, I was definitely angry at it.
Yeah.
Right.
So, what year was that? What year was that shot with Arnold taking that picture? Was it
this one?
Yeah.
2017.
Yeah, 2017. So your dad got to see that moment.
Oh yeah.
Would you say that would be one of like kind of the peak moments that he got to witness of his son's career? I mean, that's a pretty special moment.
He was there. he wasn't in Ohio. No, he wasn't in Ohio that year. He couldn't make it because I think the year before I illegally smuggled him into the States to go to the Olympia.
I just love that.
Yeah.
As you do. As you might have to do.
Hey, we fucking drove over there on a boat. This is a true story. We drove him over there on a boat, and it was kind of a test run. He said, "Oh, go up. There was a marina. Go up there and grab lunch. See if you can grab some burgers on the American side." And he went up, and I said, "I'm fucking out of here. The test run's over." He made it. So I left. I left him there, and I called him. I said, "Listen, I'm going to bring your suitcase over the border in a few hours, and then you're going to take a train." And he took a fucking 3-day train all the way to Nevada. He was so pissed off. He was so fucking pissed. And then I went and stayed and then I stayed out there for a couple months and trained for that Olympia. And I was already there because we shipped him early. So
that's badass.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
I don't know what
man.
happened I don't know what happened. Oh, the Arnold Classic, it was too cold out. The water was frozen.
Now, these are the stories you don't just learn any other place.
So you did a test run a few months before the Olympia.
Yeah, it was just
And
a test. Hey, let's just go test the waters.
He got across, had a burger, and he thought, "Fuck, I'm just gonna stay."
No, he never thought that.
Oh.
No, fuck no. He was pissed off. I said, "What? How come this is well, we're supposed to, because the next weekend was a long weekend, and that's when we were going to, do the thing, We thought, oh, there's going to be more people, but fuck, we already made it. You're in the States. Just go, get out of here." So,
that's fucking funny.
I'm not sure if this is incriminating or not, so.
No, no one will care.
It's after the fact, and you're good to go.
Yeah, he's dead. You can't charge him. Fuck it. I didn't do it.
Dude, that was... Okay, now we've got 2 spots.
I thought we had the clip already, Dusty, but now we might have to change our minds on that. That might be the clip.
Jesus.
Promo.
This is how we always
YouTube?
I do like an Instagram clip before so people know what the show is, and we usually pick something extremely random that has nothing to do with what we talk about. So these are flawless options.
What? Here's a good one for you. What's your biggest flaw?
Flaw with my physique, or flaw how?
Just all they say. Biggest flaw. Take it how you mean it.
Fuck, I lost my hair a little back here.
The ponytail's covering it up, though.
Got a little toony. Not too happy about that.
Yeah. How old are you now, Zane?
I'm 32.
I made it to 40 till I had to go with the full shave.
Let it go, eh?
You got the ponytail though, so you can stay safe for many years, I'm sure.
That
Dusty
pony comes from my mullet.
Oh.
It's the mullet that pulls it together. It's actually long down to here. So.
Right. There you go. Okay.
This is freaking great. We're learning all the secrets here.
Yeah, we got to get him to let the hair down on the next one.
Literally.
Okay, Dusty.
Let me see. Yes, I've got a few. Jesus. All these questions are like literally the same. Okay, there we go.
None of the seconds.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
What would you say is apparent? Obviously, you've got wacky legs. They want to know what is like a nasty leg workout that you would suggest someone trying. Now, obviously, intensity you can't speak of, but like, what was your last leg workout? What did it look like?
Yeah, you were talking about this high intensity training you were doing with John, and you mentioned time. So I thought maybe you meant giant sets or something. I wasn't sure what you were doing.
It is kind of a giant set, but giant sets I think are more like repetitive. Like you'll do 5 exercises, one set, and then you'll do the 5 exercises again, another set. You know what I mean?
Right.
So it becomes sets of those particular exercises. Whereas high intensity would be kind of like that, but it would be like 5 or 6 exercises, but you would take each one to failure, heavy and to failure, potentially throw in a couple drop sets on each one of those sets, and keep yourself moving from exercise to exercise without recovering. So basically you're done the workout in 6-7 sets.
Okay, so you're doing, now when you say sets, that would be like squat is 1 set, then you go over and you do whatever, your extensions, that's 2 sets now. That's what you mean?
Yeah, so for example, there's a good video of me putting Regan through one of them.
Oh.
And it's a prime example. It would be like I'd pre-exhaust my hamstrings, and my perfect workout on this scenario would be do some hypers, warm up your hamstrings. And I always go through each exercise at the beginning of the workout with super low weight, just to feel exactly how I want to execute it. See where I want my feet when I squat, see where I want my feet when I do the leg press. And I'll put the weights all on and prepare it for my actual set. So I'm not wasting time going from exercise 1 to exercise 2 and fucking around with the weight or thinking, well, how much do I need? It's usually documented. I write it down, so I know what I have to beat. So my perfect leg routine in this style of training would be hypers, warm up your hamstrings, and then I would do heavy, super heavy, stiff-legged extension or stiff-legged deadlifts, and then I go up immediately into 90-degree leg press, and these are sets all to failure, heavy, probably drop it twice. Straight into a leg extension, high, have to be able to control the weight, and then straight under the squat bar when you're like this.
Right.
You're barely walking to the squat bar, and now you're getting under the bar where it's a heavy weight, and it's going to be heavy, like 3 plates or something or more. And when you're pre-exhausted like that, you're really like, your hips are like this, you're not even standing straight, and then you have to take that. If you don't take that squat to complete failure, your workout it didn't count. Like that squat has to be, I definitely couldn't have got 1 more rep in me.
Right.
And then you can't breathe, you can't think, you're sweating, you feel sick, and then you go under like a supported machine where you don't need that balance, like a hack squat. Then you pound out 1 set of those. My dad used to say, GTB, go to bed.
And what was when you say heavy with some drops, like what would the rep range be on that first attempt, say on the squats or the stiff legs?
Well, you usually have you have to have some kind of goal in mind,
Yeah.
Whether that's from data from previous exercises or just something you're going to say, this is going to be super fucking hard and I want to get 20 reps doing this.
Right.
It has to be ridiculous numbers where you think this is hard. I don't even want to do this.
Right.
But that's what's going to make me sore for 5 days and grow.
Right.
So, it's definitely, I always go into the gym and say, what don't I want to train? What don't I want to do today? And that's what I'll do.
So,
because you don't want to do it because it's hard.
Right. So essentially, let's say you took those same exercises.
Yep.
And let's say I did the workout, but I did each exercise, like, warm up set, prep set, all out working set. Then move to the next one, prep set, get all ready, all out working set. And then move to the next one, and the stiff leg, maybe I need a warm up and then a prep and then all out working set. So what you would do is do all the warm ups up front. So you're totally primed on all the movements and all the patterns, and you're ready to go on all of them. And then you load them all up, and then it's just work set, work set, work set, work set, work set.
One after another. And if you don't have someone there going, come on, buddy, come on, you got this.
Yeah.
Let's go. Come on. Go to the next set. Go to the next set. Get under the bar. Come on, you got this. Come on, you got this.
Right.
And you're honestly not within that time limit, because I think your muscles start repairing after about 6 to 10 seconds. You want to reach those new muscle fibers. If you're always hitting them here, then how are you supposed to get growth? You got to hit them in here. You got to get deeper.
So
that's
how
where you
long?
get those deep cuts from.
How long is the time between each set? Obviously it would vary if you're walking from machine to machine and you're sucking wind. How long do you allow it to get?
Nothing. It's time to get there.
Right. Bam.
Yeah, and of course, it's not something like you have to be in good physical condition to do this type of workout. You can't be slow. Yeah. You have to be used to some kind of trauma or pain or torture or whatever kind of shape you're in. You can't be totally out of shape to do this workout, or you're going to be sick.
Well, with the wind, I think it would be, not even sick. I think if you were not in great shape, you just couldn't do it. I did, I don't know if you follow, but Gina Davis actually wrote me a routine that was very similar. She works with Steve Kuklo. And I just went for it right out the gate, and I train very opposite. I go when I'm ready, fully ready. And man, by the third movement, I'm breathing. My mouth is open as I'm walking over, and I'm trying to get under the bar, and I'm like, holy shit, this is a different thing. I'm doing cardio and training all at once. It was definitely brutal, but you're right. Number one, it was fun because you can't quit, because you just can't. Yeah. And then, I was fucking sore, sore as shit. And I knew I didn't maximize it. You know what I mean? If you were to put me through your routine, it'd whip my ass, but it wouldn't be at your level because I just couldn't breathe yet. It would take time to just get that oxygen. It would still kill me. I can't even imagine.
Yeah. So especially when I first started them workouts, it's weird. It's the next day you're like, oh wow, my quads are sore. And then the next day it's oh, the other side of my quad's sore. And the next day it's oh, my hip flexors are sore. And 4 days later your ass hurts. And then the next day your fucking hamstrings hurt. It's what the fuck is going on here? You don't know. But you can't always train like that. Hey, you have to have days, where you go, I'm just going to go onto the squat bar today.
Right.
I'm going to slowly inch up the weight. I'm going to take my minute and a half, 2 minute sets, whatever. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to lift some heavy weights today. And I'm going to do a few exercises that I like. And those make you sore too. You can't always train with that high intensity. You can't always be.
How long can you train as far as number of weeks before you need to not beat the shit out of yourself? Do you take a cruise period as from the training? Do you not train at all, or do you just kind of back down for a little time period? What do you do? Because obviously, like you said, you can't just like high intensity training with heavy weight. You can't train that way, 52 weeks a year.
Yeah, well, I think it totally depends on where you're at in your training, and especially if you're competing. If you're not competing, are you trying to put on muscle or you're not? So if there's anything my father taught me that I was really beneficial, was make a plan, work a plan. So pick a show. I know I'm going to train there, and then you go back from that show, and we'd write out all my cycles, on times, off times, right from the day I'm at. And it might be a year and a half down the road. So there's no guessing. Stupid program. I just do supplements from here to there and not know where you're going, So I'd say that type of training, particularly, I'd say like after 4 to 6 weeks, you need to take a whole week off and don't even touch the gym, like 4 to 6 weeks on, and then like a complete week off where you just do nothing, which is hard for me, but you usually have to go away to get it out of your head.
No, that's why it's funny, because that's why I asked. I just had a client who his body was telling me it was time, and so I asked, like, hey, how the joints, how everything feeling? And he's like, oh no, I'm good, and I'm like, you shouldn't be. So if you are, you're training like a bitch, and if you're not, taking that step away is not a bad idea. And 3 days later, I got the text. It was like, okay, I lied. Like,
I'm tired.
And you feel like guys need to understand that week away is what allows you to grow. Sure, you could push through. You're a fucking maniac. You could train all year, but it wouldn't be beneficial.
Yeah, no, that time off is so important. All rest time is in between workouts. That's why I'm very strategic about even like my splits. People always ask me, what's your split? I don't know. It's how I feel. I'm not sure what I'm training today. It's if I'm sore, how I feel from the week before. My split's not a 7-day split. It's usually like a 10-day split. So, which might be confusing, but it changes every week. 1 week I'll train chest and shoulders together. The next week I won't. I'll train chest and triceps together.
Right. That's awesome. Yeah. It's I love stuff that's different, because it's what we push. A lot of guys will ask, and I know you get that too. They want the answer, and I'm like, well, this is what I do. Yeah, I don't fucking know if it's going to be good for you. You know what I mean?
That is so frustrating for me, because I'm like so opinionated about it. Which, like, the same thing. What's your split? I don't have one. What's your workout? I can't tell you. Like, you have to watch. Give me a good cycle. Well, how the fuck am I supposed to know how you're going to respond to something if I'm not watching you every day?
I always say D-ball.
Yeah.
Every time. Lots of D-ball. Lots of D-ball.
Yeah. Never. That's something that I never really got. People write out cycles for somebody, and it's like, well, how did they build this for you? I don't understand how they built that for you. How do they know what that's going to do for you?
Right, especially the more complicated they get.
Yeah, it kind of has to be like, that's something that that I really liked about Chris. He never changed anything unless it needed to be changed.
Yep.
It wasn't like, do all this. It was like, do this, and when that stops working, do this.
Right. Yeah.
So, that's something that me and Chris have always grooved with. So
I remember one time Chris
taught me a lot.
Chris sent me my stack, and I go, hey, I can't remember what I said in the text. I was like, hey, what do you want my cycle to look like? He goes, well, I don't give cycles. I just give advice. Yeah. and then the next line was just like it was like that much advice.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, so simple.
I think that's what people don't realize is, my first show with Chris, when you're heading out of town, it was my first big show. I asked him, I said, hey, what am I going to be eating those last 3 days? Because I wanted to prep my food. And I'll never forget, he sends back, I don't know. That was all he said. I don't know. And I was like, my brain was struggling. So I told my wife at the time, I was like, okay, well, cook enough of every food I eat for 4 days. As in, honey, 6 meals of chicken, 6 meals of this. So we showed up with like literally 4 times the amount of food I needed. And then Chris goes, what'd you bring? And I said, I brought everything. He goes, everything? I go, you said you didn't know what I was going to eat. He goes, well, that'll work.
Best bean.
Yeah, I was prepared. And of course, I ate like one type of meat the entire time and rice.
Yes. Then you cover it after.
Exactly. I got plenty of food for later.
I got a good one here that I want to hear about. what inspired your amazing posing routine when you used the sound of silence at the Arnolds?
I don't think it was inspired by anything in particular, but that's something my dad always was huge on, was posing. So right from the starting, I took it super serious, and like I always watch bodybuilding shows, and I would think, "Fuck, this guy looks amazing," and then it's like, "You look so good. You've spent hundreds and thousands of hours on making your physique look like this, and you can't even show it." You can't show it. You don't display it right. You're clearly not prepared to display this and this physique the way it should be. So I always took that really serious. I always watched old posing videos.
Who are some of the guys? Who are some of the guys that you think were awesome?
I liked Frank Zane a lot. Loved Ed Corney. Those two guys, I really like their posing. Something about when they used to pose to no music, I like too. Like I've always kind of had that in the back of my head. I wanted to do that. They come out and they just do this. Frank Zane could sit there and pose for an hour to no music, and you could just watch him pose after pose after pose after pose.
Yeah.
And now it's painful to watch some people posing. It's like, holy shit.
Right.
Who do you, it's funny you said that because there's a question, man, is best posing you've seen recently? Anyone specific that you really enjoy watching that's a pro now?
Oh, I fucking love Terrence Ruffin. He's amazing. I've been watching him since he did this posing routine at the Toronto show one year. It was like some Britney Spears cover song or something, but it was so good, and I've always liked him since. He's a super good poser. So he's definitely my favorite poser for sure right now.
Yeah, I think that's almost across the board for everybody that follows bodybuilding. If you don't know his routines, it's kind of like, really?
Well, he did make up some points at the Olympia this year and wound up in second because of the night show. So
you can just tell he does his homework. He doesn't stop posing. I really like his fucking name just skipped my mind. 212 guy. He skipped the Olympia this year. He's one of HD's guys.
Oh,
Keon.
No,
Keon. Yeah.
Keon. I don't know. I don't remember any of his posing routines, but his actual posing, you can tell he sits there for an hour a day and poses and holds them and knows he doesn't even have to guess. He just lifts his arms and he shows, because a lot of guys have these great physiques and then they lift their arms and they disappear. What happened?
Right.
All your muscles disappeared. They look great. They're so impressive in the gym. They got these 24-inch arms, huge chest, whatever, and it's like then they lift their arms and it's gone. So I think that's a lot to do with practice. And that guy, Keon, too, I was looking forward to seeing him on the 212 stage, because that guy's definitely in the top three. For sure.
Yeah, I'm always amazed with the guys that the first guy I worked with on posing when I was really getting started, I was hitting a lat spread, just a basic pose. And he said, well, you got two choices. You can either go put on 20 pounds over the next 2 years, or I can teach you how to hit that pose right now so it looks like you put on 20 pounds today. And I'm like, I'll choose the second one.
Yeah.
And it is that drastic, though. I think a lot of guys don't realize when you work with the right person, specifically someone who knows your physique, because if you're like someone like me that has things you really need to hide or get away from, a good coach can help you as much as possible with that,
I haven't really had a lot of posing advice, but I'm the type of guy that thinks you can learn anything from somebody. So, I'd never be against doing some posing with somebody too. I can always learn. I've always had a problem pulling my back out. I could never.
Jeez.
Still, it's hard. Yeah.
Oh, it looks like you know exactly
that's
what
hard
you're
for
doing.
me to imagine. I was gonna say.
Yeah. Everything. I'll put it this way: everything you do looks like you do it on purpose, and that's always something. You know how you see guys pose, and you think, all right, he doesn't realize, that he's on a bad angle or whatever, but you always look in the right spot. I had one here. It was what's your mental situation before a workout? Like, do you have any sort of rituals you go through, or does that happen later in the prep when you got to dig deep? You have maybe more of that sort of ritual stuff going on.
When I like to train in the morning, because if I don't train in the morning, especially when I'm really balls to the wall, I'm nervous all day, and I get that nervous feeling from my workout. Fuck, I got to go through this, and you're thinking about it all day. And if I just get it out of the way in the morning, I eat meal 1. Perfect. I would love to train after meal 2, but mentally I have to train after meal 1, especially with my business. I get bothered after 10 o'clock. So I don't want my workout to be interrupted or to miss anything. So yeah, mentally it's like it's like a meditating thing. I'll have my breakfast and psych myself up for the workout, and then get to the gym and get right at it. I don't do anything too particular.
Right. I know we've had some long discussions about some guys crank the metal, some guys, that sort of stuff.
Like music metal, or hit their head off
that. Who knows it? Guys like JP, maybe they are smashing things. Yeah. What do you listen to when you train?
I listen to everything. I listen to some really funny 70s music sometimes, because I used to listen to that with my dad. So kind of I don't know, it's relaxing. But if but I'll listen to some heavy rock playlists if I'm really not feeling it, or I want to get in the zone,
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So what's it looking like there? You can open your gym now right away here. You're going to have people in the gym. Does that make you busier suddenly, or will much change?
There's just more. It's definitely more distracting because there's people coming in and out. I have a private gym. I only have 25 to 50 members at any time. So.
Oh, okay. So you run it more like a studio.
Yeah, and yes and no. It's an electronic entrance. A lot of my clients are or my members, not even clients, they're just members, are I don't know, high profile people. I have a lot of lawyers and people that just don't want to be around people when they train.
Dusty's usually, I can relate.
Yeah, there's usually nobody gets bothered. It's only ever the most there's 2 or 3 people training at the same time. It's not a huge gym. It's only it's probably 3,000 square feet. It's not huge. It's just meat and potatoes, and I do train. I do train at other gyms. I train at that Body Pro when it's open. I train at Pure Muscle. They have the selection. I don't have the machines. I have free weights. I have a few machines. Yeah. I have everything. I have the meat and potatoes. I have what I need, but I do have to get out to other gyms for sure.
How far is Pure from Hamilton? What's the drive?
No, it's not far. It's 20 minutes.
Oh, okay. Shit. There's so many cities out where you are. Sometimes I think you're 3 hours away from them.
We're neighbors. It's Hamilton, then Burlington. It's very close.
No problem.
Yeah, it's not far at all. I missed that gym.
We're really thankful for having you on. You gave us quite a bit of time. We didn't mean to go over an hour there with you, but we appreciate it, Zane. You're you've been lying low a little bit during this COVID stuff, so I'm really glad to have you on and know that you're planning on hitting the stage with a vengeance.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to come back. Thanks for remembering me.
That condition doesn't get forgotten. You'd be surprised how many DMs I got just from people they're like, holy shit, I can't wait to see him back on. A friend of mine actually messaged me, and he was like, where's he been? I was like, where's everyone been?
Yeah,
I know. People are asking that all year. They're like, are you not competing? I'm like, fuck, nothing's open. What are you talking about?
yeah. Well,
where are you?
Dusty and I both agreed on a recent show that we're excited to see you on stage because we want to see we're wondering if the guys who lied low are the ones who are going to come back with the biggest vengeance, rested, healthy, totally cleaned out, nothing hurts, training like madmen, that sort of thing. And so we're really hoping that you're one of the guys that sort of shows your time away with, not being able to make the 212 would be really nice. I'd love to see that.
Not being able to?
Yeah, I'd love to see you at 230.
I'm not even going to try.
There you go.
I don't want to. I've already told myself, and I've already announced it, like, I don't want to. I'm not sacrificing anymore. I want to be the best I can the next few years, because I'm only going to be doing this a few more years, so I might as well look as good as I can. And I don't care, like, as long as I can look as good as I can. I might not be competitive in the open class, but I'm definitely, I won't look bad.
Hey, I don't think the Zaniacs give a shit where you place.
No. And when
They
I
don't
can bring
care.
them around, then I'll start competing.
There you go.
Awesome, man.
Well, I appreciate it, Zane. Thank you very much for coming on, and we wish you all the best. We'll talk soon.
Thanks a lot, guys. Awesome.
You bet. Zane Watson, IPB Pro. Cheers.
Ciao.
Oh, good, man. It was good to have him on. He's there's something about Zane. You can tell he thinks about each answer before he says anything.
Mm-hmm. Well, you know what I like is
he wants to make sure that he's like, I want to be clear about this, Like I tend to get ahead of myself and then I have to go back and correct.
Yeah, I apologize all the time. My bad. That's actually what I thought, and I was supposed to clean it up before I told you what I thought.
Yeah.
No, I loved it though, and I like. I always like when people have a different style, because I think that that's something. What's interesting about I'm finding more and more with social media is you post what you're doing, and then people fight you on it, and I'm like, I didn't ask you to do this.
Right.
Like I'm not on here selling a program telling you do this. And even my own clients very few train the way I do. It's not right for them. So I'm fascinated at how many people immediately assume that you're like pushing it. I'm like, I don't give a fuck how you train.
Yeah.
And there's, 100 ways to get to the same finish line. I mean, listen to how he's training. And I just said in there, that is completely opposite of what I do.
Yeah.
You get peeled. I get peeled. Okay, I guess they both work.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm always a believer in that you have to like the way you're training to a degree. That doesn't mean enjoy, because you can like something that's hard.
Yeah.
And then also you have to be motivated to apply yourself to it to see the progress. Like you have to make the plan work.
Right.
Like a lot of people are like, oh, this training isn't working for me. I'm like,
2 weeks
you have to
into it.
make it work for you. Like this training, you don't just go in the gym. You don't just read the program I give you and it says, 2 working sets, first set 6 to 8, second set 10 to 12. And you don't just do 6 to 8 and then do 10 to 12 and then move on to the next exercise and go, oh, this workout isn't working for me. It's
Right.
like, no, your 6 to 8 wasn't, your form was shit. And then on the 10 to 12, your intensity was shit. So you blew your form on the first set and you blew your intensity on the second set. The 2 most important things.
Right.
You blew one on each set.
Yeah. Well, and that's the other thing. It's the execution. Because I think at the end of the day, intensity is what matters. I really do think that intensity matters.
Training hard. Fucking hard, as Chris would say.
Exactly. How do I train? Fucking hard. Exactly. Right. So, but yeah, it is. Plus, I think sometimes it's nice just to have a tweak. Like, as you know, it's something I enjoy about our travel is we would go somewhere and I'd be like, oh, let's use this machine. I don't have one.
Yeah, or I don't know how this machine is. Let's make it work.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden you're sore as fuck.
Yeah.
For 3 days because your body, some little tweak on a different shoulder press, which is still a shoulder press, whipped your ass. You know what I mean?
Another thing too is I always enjoyed giving a machine a chance. Like, you might get in it in the first set. You might go, oh, I don't like that. But I wouldn't just move on because I want to give every machine a chance. And then, okay, I'll move the seat. Okay, I'll move the platform a bit. Okay, I'll move my feet. Oh, you know what? Actually, that is pretty good. You know, like I've had a little more patience because I want to try to find, you don't want to miss a gem.
Oh God, yeah.
Every gym I've been in, there's a machine that if you were to use it totally normally, it wouldn't quite work for you. But maybe you wedge a pad in the chest because my arms are long, and all of a sudden I get a good stretch on it. Now I like this machine, right? So there's always the odd gem that you kind of have to like work with sometimes, and that goes with everything in training. That goes with every technique. Like give the technique a chance. Mm-hmm. Like apply it to a few sets. Like try it out. Maybe you'll love it on leg press.
Right.
Like rest pause sets. Some people maybe they're just not applying rest pause to the right exercises. They're trying to do rest pause on incline dumbbell press.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, you're wrestling the dumbbells up 3 fucking times in a row.
And you're exhausted from picking them up.
And then, you're losing stability and the forced rep is sketchy and, blah, 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 blah. So you just have to kind of like play with them. That's my opinion on pretty much everything.
Yeah. So that's why I like these things though. Cause you find a time and a place for things like every time, like as I'm training right now and my things just are going really well in the back of my head, I'm always wondering like, how long am I going to be able to train like this before I have to stop? It's smart to go do something else. Right. And for now, everything I'm, knock on wood, healthy and everything's rolling. But I am always looking like, okay, well, when this is no longer good, what will I do to create the same intensity, the same result in a different way? Because I'm fucking ancient and I shouldn't be doing this anymore. Oh,
well, you seem to be recovering.
Yeah, something's happening.
Yeah. I love seeing your bent row videos.
It's the chips.
I know they're a staple. And, I appreciate them very much. But yeah, if your body's staying healthy, man, I mean, I started getting hurt all the time and I started getting, mechanical issues with my one tricep that changed and then, it just sort of like my training evolved as I got kind of collected injuries, definitely, and wear points and stuff. But the way I train now, I actually wish I would have, I know it's subtle difference on paper. It looks very similar to how I've always trained, but there's differences. But the way I train now, I actually wish I would have trained like that in my last 4 or 5 years as a bodybuilder, because it's just a little bit more sensible than. Well,
that's why I asked him about how at his stage of his career he was able to make this decision, because you are extremely well informed in all areas of bodybuilding. So it's not like you were training the only way you knew how.
Right.
You were training the only way you ever trained. But the knowledge that you're using now, you had then. It is difficult to it's working. What you were doing is because I hammer on that. I guess it's that walking the line. I'm surprised on the same way of some people who forget, like I always say, don't forget who brought you to the dance. I love that guys will, win shows, do great, have nothing to say about their coach, but anything they're like, oh, I joined this team. Well, number one, there's no fucking teams in bodybuilding. You're up there alone.
Right.
I'm sorry, you changed why? That is kind of the same thing where in this regard, I see why it's hard, is my point, when you're in your training, because you're like, dude, this is what got me here. This is why I'm Ron Partlow that everybody fucking knows. It's difficult to go, I think I'm going to go, 80 degrees different.
Right. I know what you mean.
That same result. So it's interesting because it is picking your battles on when to do that. Because like you said, I imagine your body would be even healthier now. You'd probably still have the same result, but hard to step away from it when you're in it.
I had someone ask me a question. It was name a few times, because when you train for so many years, it's hard to pinpoint things that actually caused improvement. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Because it's also cumulative.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. I trained so hard that year and ate so much food that I'm not really sure why my back grew a bit.
Right.
It was everything I did.
Right.
But their question was, name a point where you changed one thing and or you changed something and it definitely without question improved something. Like it wasn't just a feeling, it was like picture to picture.
Yeah.
And there's 2 times that, actually 3 times that I remember, and I don't know why I remember these specific times, because it would have happened a lot of times. But I remember when I first started working with Scott Abel, which was late 2003 to 2004, we started working together. And he changed my program and he raised my volume a lot. And of course, I don't think we quite communicated how intensely I was training. Yeah. So, but one of the things about the volume was he had a lot of dumbbell flies in my routine. Mm-hmm. And I had always been very press oriented, and I maybe just did one fly movement, or I did 2 working sets of flies, and then I do one set of crossovers, and that'd be it for chest,
Right.
And he had 4 or 5 sets of dumbbell flies in my routine. And I remember my chest immediately, from the time I hired him to my next contest was only 8 months later. And one of the things that everybody said at that show was, your chest is way thicker. What did you do? And I remember I was like, but I look back and it wasn't just that he bumped volume up and I did more dumbbell flies.
Right.
It was, I also altered the way I was doing my flies. I had a little bit more of an awareness of how the pecs really actually move, and I just had I remember I tweaked my dumbbell fly because my previous form had been hurting my shoulders a bit. And so I changed how I did flies, and then I did more of them. And something blew up in my chest. And then there was another time in the off season of 2006, 2007, I trained back twice a week. I had a pull down day and a row day.
Right.
And they weren't high. Yeah, they weren't high volume. The pull down day was 6 working sets or 5 working sets. And the row day was 5 to 6 working sets. Right.
Right.
And that year I won my class at nationals, and the judges, I actually had 2 judges tell me, they're like, well, you brought your back up a lot this year. And so the reason why I had someone say, oh, so you think you should train everything twice a week? And I go, well, no, the reason I think my back grew is because I was training everything else once a week. You still only have so much recovery. Yeah.
CNS is getting beat up every day.
Yeah. You can't say, oh, I trained my back twice a week and it got better, so therefore I should train everything twice a week. Right. Because now you're doing different math now on your recovery, and you have to look at so many other factors.
Right.
So yeah, there's a handful of things like that where you make a change and you actually see a difference in the next show, a clear difference where you're like, oh shit, that worked.
Yeah, I did that with legs. Actually, it has yet to be seen yet, but I did that where I trained legs 3 days a week. But what people didn't realize is I didn't train anything else.
Right.
Literally, I trained Monday, Wednesday, Friday, legs. And I just didn't touch my upper body for 2.5 months. And the funny thing was, I always knew my upper body would come back quick as soon as I started touching weights again. So my weight was probably the same by the time it was done, because I had lost size up top, but it all bounces right back. I mean, literally within a month of me training my upper body, especially my back, it'll shoot back up. But my legs came up, and now they're still here. They stayed there. Yeah, and now we're back to twice a week. But it's not even twice a week, because it's quads one day, hams the next. So it's really still once,
Right. Did you have any questions you wanted to go over, Dusty? We're running kind of long today. We're an hour 49 we've been on.
No, I'm pretty solid. We answered all of them, because I didn't do any individuals this time, because I knew with Zane a lot of people would want direct for him, which I was stoked, because they did. They were very much the only question I had, which I guess we could hit real quick, was I got to know what are some inconveniences that you experienced once you were 320, or just as big as you've ever been, that you would have never thought about when you got into bodybuilding?
I just talked about one the other day. I went for my first MRI when I was 325.
You didn't fit.
I did not realize how tight those machines were, and they almost didn't put me in it. They they put like a thing on your neck to like hold your head down so it doesn't move. But when she pushed on it to click it, it literally like choked me and my face like turned purple.
Right.
And so she had to like unclick it because I was like, there's no fucking way you could leave that on.
Yeah, you're about to choke me out. Yeah.
So they took a forehead band and they like put it over my neck and pulled it like snug. And then they had this like makeshift wedge jammed in this forehead band thing. And they're like, you can't move your head, because I was getting a cervical MRI.
Right.
Anyways, so they finally get me all clicked in, and I'm like, oh, fuck. And then she starts putting me in, and like as I slide in, like my shoulders just go like this.
Yeah.
Because it's like a tiny little tube. It's like they're jamming you in a culvert.
It's exactly what it is.
And I got in, and I had like a moment where I was like, no, this is like 8:30 in the morning, right?
Right.
I'm like, no, fuck this. I hit the button, click, click, click. They pull me right back out. I'm like, get me out of here for a second. They take the thing off my neck. I like stood up. I'm like, I'm going to need a minute. I was not prepared for the claustrophobia that I just experienced. Let me gather myself. Right? Whatever you do.
Got your chi.
I got to go do some yoga poses or whatever the fuck. So I literally took like a lap around the ward.
Right.
I like walked around the ward. I was like, fuck, okay, let's get your head in this. And I'm like,
you had to psych up like
I'm
you were
just
getting
gonna,
ready for a set of
yeah,
squats,
it was
reverse.
I don't know what it was. I was not prepared for that. And I'm a little bit claustrophobic. Like, I don't like that shit.
Right.
When I could feel my own breath hitting me back in the face, it's like, oh, get me the fuck out of here.
They call it masks.
Yeah, masks. There you go. So, so I got a little zen, took five minutes tops, went back in there, laid down, clickety click, slid me in, fell asleep.
That's fucking, they actually make machines that are bigger for future reference. It looks like a panini press, basically. So in the future, ask for the fat guy one. That's what I always do.
Yeah. So that was a surprise that I didn't think being huge was going to bring. But
what's funny is you have to tell them that. Like if you're getting an upper body MRI, when you call, you have to literally say like, I'm 310, but I'm also a bodybuilder, meaning my shoulders are 9 inches wider than, like when you explain, they're like, oh, okay, you can't come to this hospital. You got to go to the one down here. They have that.
Yeah. I always wanted to get a stand-up one because it's the most accurate.
Right.
But they're just hard to find. Not everyone has a stand-up MRI.
I've never done one. I didn't even know they existed.
Yeah, because then you can actually see the compression on the spine.
Right.
Because you're gravity. Yeah. And then obviously sometimes some people like their posture tweaks out a little when they stand, and it shows things that,
I would
or the
fidget
knee,
though. Like how do they make you not move when you're
that's a thing.
Fucking all over the place?
Yeah. Apparently you can
do the show without moving.
You can see it's more accurate inside the knee too, because things drive down, and then the gaps are different. But yeah. Anyways, what about you?
You know what? I feel like for the most part, everything. The only thing I really was blindsided by was, which sounds silly, was dress clothes.
Oh yeah.
Just because that everyone goes in and they have a suit tailored. You can't. Fabric is fabric. It can only be tailored so far before it's just a completely different thing. So if you want, don't get me wrong, you can buy a suit. It'll just look like shit. If you want your stuff to look right, it has to be a complete custom. And when I reached that point, I was not financially ready for a complete custom suit.
Oh yeah, I was like too broke to buy really nice dress clothes for a long time.
Yeah, I looked so it's funny. Yeah, I looked slobby. I felt like I looked worse in dress clothes because they weren't tailored properly.
You look like a fat kid.
Yeah, and it's like, but I didn't have $2,000-$3,000 fucking dollars. I was like, what? I wear this twice a year? Kiss my ass! I'm spending $2,000.
Yeah. I'll just
even if I had it, fuck off. I'll look like a slob for 12 hours. It's all good.
Yeah.
I'd do it the rest of my life.
Just sit at the table for the whole wedding and eat.
Yeah. Once I get there, I'll take this damn jacket off that doesn't fit anyways.
Right. And then as soon as everybody's 3 or 4 rums in, I can untuck my shirt and then we're home free.
Yeah, no one gives a shit. But literally, I remember that. I was like, because I went to a place and the guy was like looking at me. And I'm like, what? This is $300. I'm ready. Let's do this. I saved up my pesos. Let's do it. But yeah, so now that, what's funny is now in hindsight, you know how there's, like we've talked about, there's things you don't want to spend money on. That's still my thing. I'm like, you know why I have this nice shirt? Because JP gave it to me.
Right. What do you call that color again? Lilac?
Lilac. Yeah, I felt like pretty hardcore. I put it on this morning. I was like, look at me. Dang. Fancy.
Yes.
You know? But his shit is, you know what's funny? So we negotiated a deal. He sends me the stuff, and I felt like a child. I get it, and I just literally, I had to go to the gym, and I hadn't worn anything yet because it took forever to get here. So I just busted open the first one I had, threw it in the dryer real quick to take the wrinkles out, and I put it on, and I'm driving. And I text him. I'm like, this shit is really fucking nice.
I like when a shirt, you know, back when I like to train, like when I was big, I like to train on like the 3/4 length. Well, like, you know, I want a sleeve that goes below my bicep.
Below the elbow, yeah.
It has to go below the elbow a little bit, you know. And when you're driving and it sits right in that perfect little spot there, and you're like, oh, this is a good shirt.
You know what he sent me? He sent me a leg day 5XL.
Oh, there you go.
And you know you got to have like the giant leg day shirt. I was so, like, it opened up and I was so happy. I'm like, I don't know if this is intentional or not, but well played.
I had a moment, Dusty. I gave away my favorite leg day shirt.
It was
time. No. He's not heavy enough. There's a kid at the gym. He works for us. His name's Carson. Good kid. I help him with his, you know, when he wants to compete, he calls me.
Right.
And he hit 280 this year. He got up to 280.
A graduation present, huh?
Yeah, he's young. All right. He just, you know, he played college football and stuff, and he hit 280 this year, and he's filling out the big hoodies now. So I had the red 5X Pulp Fiction T-shirt with Uma Thurman smoking on the front.
Yeah.
And that was like one of my favorite shirts, and I was barely big enough to fill it out at like 290. Right. It would have been glorious back in the day. It would have been perfect. And I thought, I can't wear this anymore now because the shoulder seam's like down to my tricep. So I was like, I can't let this shirt go to it can't go to like a donation bin or something. Yeah. It has to go to a young bodybuilder who can, you know, wear it till it's faded.
Yeah, understand the value.
So I was like, here you go, buddy.
Did he understand? Like, was it a moment?
Yeah. And then now he started dieting, and he's lost a bit of weight, and he's like, I don't know if it's going to fit very much longer. And I'm like, that's part of the reward of getting bigger. It'll fit again someday.
Yeah. Next year, it'll fit again, and in 2 years, it'll fit when you're dieted.
Yes, that's the goal, right? Use it as a marker. That's how you set the goals. I had many of them.
Oh, I found clothes where, you know what it was, is when you're younger, I remember putting on stuff and being like, I don't look very big in this, so I wouldn't wear
it. Yeah.
And then when you get really big, you're like, I'll wear black. It should tone it down a little bit. It won't look so
down
crazy.
A little bit. I remember I had this Tool T-shirt from a concert I went to, and it was like one of my favorite shirts. But when I dyed it down, the sleeves weren't tight, so I was like, fuck, that shirt doesn't look right. The sleeves, it's one of those shirts where the sleeves have got to be tight, like it's that length. It's like an old school T-shirt.
Yeah, it's a little higher.
And then, like, you know, the years went by and the arms grew a little. And then all of a sudden I was like, this is a contest diet shirt now. I can wear this to the gym on arm day.
Yeah, but you couldn't wear it in the off season because it's too small.
Yes. It was too fat belly. Yeah.
Fucking love it.
Okay. Well, let's let everybody go. Let's put them out of our misery, Dusty. We've been on for a while. It was great. Episode 80.
And they're still coming back. It's amazing.
We should get Scott to add up all the views. Take all the views and listens on the audio and the YouTube of all the episodes, add them up, and then we can start bragging and going. We have, you know.
But can we COVID it a little bit? You know, double them.
Double them, yeah. Anyone who even saw the thumbnail
extra,
counts,
yeah.
Start adding all the Instagram C's, like just people who saw the clip, they didn't even like it.
Or they're just members of Instagram. Fuck
just
it.
Members, just add it. The COVID edition, 7 million views. Of our episode.
Yeah, that episode.
Okay, right, great. Boss. Okay, thanks, guys. Remember, like, share, subscribe, comment, ring the bell. And remember, it's just bodybuilding.